Hey, what's up, you sexy bitches, and welcome to this week's Weekly D. And today I have the gorgeous Beccie Dunn with me. We're back on our bullshit again. We're talking about social media because when it comes to social media, there's so much that you can actually talk about. We talk about fake followers. We talk about how to talk about weight and how to talk about weight loss and what sort of effects this can have on our industry and how we should approach this on social media and how we should approach it in person. It was a really interesting chat actually, and I'm very excited for you to listen to it. So this is the Weekly D, because honey, if you ain't getting your D on the daily, you better at least be getting it once on the weekly.
Weekly D. If you're not getting any and you want some tea, then come and join Dan up on the Weekly D. It's the Weekly D.
Welcome back, Beccie. How are you, babe?
I'm really good. Thank you so much for having me back. I feel quite honoured. We only did this a couple of months ago.
I know. Well, I just
back.
really enjoyed chatting to you. So I think
Love this.
with these podcasts and stuff, I don't know if you feel the same with your podcast. Sometimes it's just nice to talk to people who are good at chatting. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, sometimes you ask someone a question and you don't get enough out of them and you're like, oh, fuck, that question was supposed to be at least a good 5-10 minutes.
Right, and then they don't give you the answer that you want. You're like, oh, okay. I kind of hoped they'd go into a bit more detail on that, and I get that a lot. So, and I actually just did an interview with a guy, the guy who owns Lupit Pole. Really nice guy, but English isn't his first language. Although his English was amazing. And yeah, he was just quite quiet, I think, but he was really, really nice. It was actually very interesting to learn a bit more about how Lupit Pole got started and stuff.
You know what? I haven't really done much research on Lupit. Somebody asked me the other day, have you tried them? Would you try them? And I'm ex-pole all the way through. I just am. They're just for me. Yeah, apart from my fit pole, but still, but I've never tried Lupit or looked into them. Have you had any experience on them?
Yeah, I have. I actually bought a crash mat of theirs, which was my first ever purchase. I bought it at an event, saw it there, I thought, oh, I'll buy that because it was on sale.
Yeah. Bought
it, and I was like, oh, let's see what this is like. And actually, it was really, really good. And I've still got it to this day. It's in such good condition.
Wow.
And it was really good quality. And then I went to a camp just recently, end of last year. And all of the poles were Lupit. Oh my God, they were amazing. They spin so good as well. Like they spin.
Okay.
That's one thing I would say. Like X poles do spin well, but I'd say Lupits definitely spin better. But yeah, I mean, obviously I've worked with X pole for years. I've always had X poles. I was like one of the first kind of poster boys that they ever had in any of their photos and stuff. I mean, I don't do anything with them now because they. Oh, go on.
No, I've had conversations with X-Pole because I've said to them, listen, you're missing a trick with your poles. Like, you need to create a flat base. I'm telling you, like my fit pole? Have you seen my white freestanding one with a completely flat base?
Yeah, with the wooden base. Oh, I'll tell you what, those freaking bricks of wood are heavy, aren't they?
Yeah, they're like 12 kg per, because I weighed it all for them too. So I could be like, listen, this is how it's all put together. Because I get so many people on every single post. Like I get DMs, I get messages on every single time I upload anything on that pole. So many people are like, where'd you get that pole from?
It's stunning, isn't it? They are really nice poles.
So nice.
Who did you buy that pole from? Did you buy it directly from them?
Fit pole. And and this is a really good actually platform to say this because people will hear it. So the pole itself is £1,000. In and around that, which is way more expensive anyway than a freestanding pole that sits at around $700-800. So this was £1,000, maybe just over 1,000. But like again, I wanted it so badly, and I was like, I'm going to get it. And then I got hit with a tax bill coming into the UK, an import tax, which was just under £300 due to weight. So the pole itself actually cost me like $1,300. Still so beautiful, but yeah, anyone looking at those, you're not told about the import tax, and it's hefty. We're not talking like 20-30 quid.
No, I was going to say, well, it's a percentage of what you've paid, I think, isn't it, or what it's worth?
Oh, is it?
I think
I didn't know if it was done on weight either, because it is really heavy. That base is like, you have to, like, I walk a bit in between my legs and I have to waddle, like to. It's like, it's not like the X-Pole where it's so transportable and you get carry cases and on wheels. Like this is like a big square base that I literally have to fucking. It's really heavy.
It's one of the downsides, I would say, really, to leaving the EU is that all of the import tax we have to pay now and all these brands that are outside of the UK. It sucks really.
Yeah.
But yeah, have you seen, there are these poles that you can get that screw into the floor. Have you seen them?
No.
Oh, what's her name? Hold on. What is her name? That's going to really bug me. I have to actually look it up because it's going to really annoy me. Is that Giselle, her name? Why do I think it's Giselle?
She's the one that, I think, if I'm thinking of her, she's the one that's got like, hasn't she got pole?
It's Giselle.
The one from Pole Italy.
So the pole Italy is who she like works with, yes. But the pole that she uses when she's outside, it basically screws into the floor, right? And oh my God, I need to find out what this freaking pole is called. I'll message it to you. But yeah, basically she's got this pole, it like screws into the floor. And it's gorgeous, like it's a really gorgeous pole. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. So I looked up and thought, oh, I'm actually really interested in buying one of those. Oh my God, they're so expensive. You think £1,000 expensive? I think they were like, I can't remember actually how much they were in the end. I was just like, wow, it's just way too much. Like, wait, like, and you know, I can afford to treat myself. You know what I mean? It's like, I could treat myself if I wanted to, but then it comes a point where you're a bit like, but...
Well, not if you're not going to use it. Not if you're not like, you don't need a freestanding. You don't need a freestanding pole. Like when I'm in my studio now, I knew that I could never train in my studio. The studio is too small in terms of height wise. Like there's stuff that I can do. I can do handstands, shoulder mounts. I can do flips to a degree, but like I don't have full flexibility. So I was like, I'm going to buy a freestanding pole that I'm going to put up every single week, and I use it. So I get so much use out of it, and I will continue to use it. So, but like someone like you, or if not, then it's you got to really make sure you're going to use it. But they do hold their value. I've seen them going for second hand. I nearly did buy another one for the impulsive part of me that was like, no, stuff that we don't need it. We don't need another pole. But they were selling. There was another one selling for about 900. So they hold their value like all poles. But I was torn between that one and Pole Italy. Is it Pole Italy, isn't it? Is that the brand?
Yeah, I think it's called the Pole Italy or something.
And it's got a hexagonal, like a hexagonal
yeah,
base.
It's like exactly. It's like hexagonal on the bottom. It is very pretty. Yeah,
yeah, really nice.
I think there's definitely so many brands coming out now. I just think the only problem that I find with all of them, and this is very much a me problem, and probably other men, I'm just too heavy for them. I pull them over like so. Those I don't know if you know Sarah Brownish. She's got a studio called the Pole Studio in Surrey, and I went and did classes once, and she had those poles there. I just move them around too much. I'm the same with X stages, and X stages are pretty hefty, like, and I move them quite a lot. I'd rather be on an X stage if I'm honest. I've used the Loop It pole stages. They're probably my second favourite. They're a little bit lighter. Have you used a fit pole then? A fit pole? Is that the one that you've got? Yeah, that's the one with the wooden base, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. So that's what Sarah used to have. And yeah, they just move too much for me. I'm just like, oh no, I can't do it. But yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that it puts a lot of people off too, the movement, like, and I get it.
Well, I was talking to them about like, because they've really risen up actually. They're probably, if you think about it, it's probably X-Pole and Loop It Pole, the two main brands, aren't they? And they've used a lot of like, they've kind of done a lot of influencer marketing, really. Like they've used brand names. So I mean, they've used names, and that's kind of got them into the industry. So they've done really, really well. It was really interesting chatting to him, actually. Yeah,
well, you look at X-Pole and like even X-Pole US, really, in particular, like the brand work that they're doing, like especially because there's a lot more women that perform like alongside artists on stage, for example. That's really
like
big.
All the Snoop Dogg. Oh, I'm always seeing Snoop Dogg. All the poles doing Snoop Dogg. It's so cool.
This is it. And they're all using X-Pole. So like kudos to those. But they are like one of the best freestanding stages. They really, really are.
For sure.
So, if you're going to, like, if I was to go to a performance, the likelihood is every performance I've done in terms of like at hotels and corporate events and stuff has all been X-Pole because it's just safe. You just know what you're getting.
Talking about the whole, like, using influencers, I mean, X-Pole do the same thing. I mean, and you do it, don't you? You actually do influencer work with them, don't you?
Yeah, well, not directly like with them like I do with other brands, but like obviously we did the work with them on the campaign last year. And then, I've done a little bit of work with them. Yeah.
Do you get paid to do it?
I didn't get. We got paid for the campaign. I didn't get paid for the other collab that I did, but then I used the pole, so that was in itself. That is the. And I know what you're gonna say with.
I'm gonna be like, why are they not paying you?
I said this to you before. Like, I think for me, it all depends on the value that you're going to get out of it too, and how much the value of the item is actually worth. Like, if we're talking like, you know, like how much is the product, you know, worth?
Oh, if I needed an X stage and they said to me, listen, would you do a promo for a free X stage? I probably would say yes, but you know what I mean? Like, I might do. But for a £200 pole, maybe not. Do you know what I mean? I'd be a bit
yeah, you're totally right. I wouldn't do it But I collabed with them with a X stage.
But I've spoken, I think we might have even spoken about this before. I find it odd that, you know, a company as big as X Pole probably aren't paying for everything. I have heard they've paid like expenses and stuff like that. And actually it's really funny because, and I have no qualms in saying it because it is the truth. I used to work with them a long time ago and I used to do everything. I did it all for free. I never got paid for it. I think they might have paid my expenses.
Right.
But it was only when I started saying I was going to charge them that I noticed that I didn't really get any calls after that. I just thought it's fine. I mean, I'm too busy anyway, but don't you think it's really weird how in the pole industry, it's almost like normal to not be paid, because there's lots of brands that work with, like clothing brands, that just send out free clothes and say, oh, if we send you these free clothes. And, you know, there's one brand that I know and I've actually discussed it with them. So I just thought it was kind of unacceptable, really. And they were like, well, you know, we don't pay any of we send them free clothes. Like, I'm like, yeah, but
it's not like
it's not just that. It's not about free clothes. Like, these pole dancers don't fucking need free clothes. Like, how many pole dancers do you know, especially at our level, that actually need the free clothes? Come on, they've got so many pole sets. Like, they don't need free clothes. They need money. They need to pay their bills.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's been afraid. I said to you this before. Like, I've turned around to a brand and said, I'm not working with you on your terms. Like, I can't. Like, because if you don't pay me, somebody else is. And that's really brutal. But like, my husband really helped me with that mindset in terms of like, you need to value your time. How much is your hourly rate? And this is what I said to you. Like, if someone was to cancel a private at like, you know, last minute, you would still charge them because they've wasted your time, or they've, you know, they've misused your time, or, you know, that's a really bad way of putting it, but you know what I mean? They've wasted your time in terms of you've had that blocked out. So why are we not putting that in any other aspect? You know, like if I work, I've started moving into like the social media space. So I do social media managing for a couple of brands, and I've worked on a consultancy basis with a couple of pole brands too. You know, I'm not going to do that work for free. Like, if you were to do something like that, you know, like, and again, you've got to think about your time. So how long does it take you to video? How long does it take you to edit, put it all together? You know, if that's even half an hour of your time, so I can make a video and edit it in half an hour. So if I charge £40 for a private or £35 for a private, so half of that is £17.50, then that's how much my time is worth. And you need to stay true to that. That's how I sort of gauge now my hourly rate, and how I like express that with brands too. When they ask me my fees, I'm like, well, this is how I'm basing it. And, you know,
but I'm not saying that these brands even need to pay lots of money. Like, you know, especially some of them, they might be small brands, or they might be newer. It's fine. Like, don't get me wrong, you might not be able to afford to pay loads of money, you know, but I think that something needs to be paid. Like, it's funny, actually, I can't really say who, because it will really put them in the shit if I say who, but a brand that wants to work with me.
Okay, can you tell me afterwards?
Yeah, I'll tell you afterwards. A brand like that wants to work with me, and actually it also wants to work with a load of other people as well.
Yeah.
They've sent their product to loads of people, and they said, we'd like to send it to you. And I was like, well, I will, but I don't do product, only because as well, I don't just do product promo for free, because if I'm going to promote something on my Instagram, I got to realize that most people don't really like seeing ads. Do you know what I mean? Like, most people don't want to see ads. So it's that whole thing of like, if I'm going to promote something on my Instagram, I've got to accept the fact that actually my followers don't probably really like it, or they might not even be interested in it. So I certainly ain't going to do it for free if it's going to affect, you know, the way my followers feel about my page. So I said, well, I'm going to try. And they were like, okay, well, willing to pay kind of thing. And I thought, well, it's funny because I know that you're not paying anyone else, but I'm happy you're going to pay what I'm asking for. But, you know, I don't know. And it kind of makes you feel like, well, it's a bit unfair really that you're going to be paid and they're not. But at the same time, it's just because I know my worth. Like, I know that this is worth something because I've done it. You know, I know how it works. I know that if I send someone a Polos t-shirt and I pay them 20 quid, 30 quid to do an ad, it'll get me some sales. You'll make the money back anyway. So it's not about the money you're paying. It's about what you can get from it. But so I just find it really weird that some brands don't want to pay. But this is purely our industry.
I think more are now. Like one of the brands, and again, like I won't mention the name, but the brand that I'm working with really closely at the moment, what I tend to do is go in and put together like ambassador schemes, and get a grip on people's ambassadors and put some structure in place in terms of, what are you going to get in return? We need to ask them to commit to 1 post a week, 1 post a month. Here's some framework for them to follow. And that's sort of what I've been really helping with brands. And I know for some people, especially, some of the brands I've been working with, where people are like, oh, I don't want to ask too much. And I'm like, no, you are a business. If you take free products and you don't, first of all, if you take free products and you don't post, like, you're just a dick.
Yeah.
Like that, because that's part of it, right? If I'm going to accept a free product, like, you have to recognize that in return you need to make a piece of content.
Yes and no. See, so it's really funny you should say that, because I've got a term when people message me and say, can we send you this? I'll say, well, yes, but if you want it, and I'll say, like, if you want to do an ad, I will charge you. And then I'm like, fine, we'll send it to you.
Yeah.
But I always say to them, like, but if I don't like it, I'm not going to post it. So it's a risk. It's totally on you. If it's good, I will promote it. If it doesn't work for me, I'll just let you know, and that's it. I'll just give you my feedback. I'll always give them as much feedback as I can so they can improve it. Yeah. But, like, for example, I get people send me hand grips all the time. Yeah. And I've only just had one recently that I actually think, well, actually, this is actually quite good stuff. Yeah. So I think, well, that one I would promote, but I've had many before.
But I just think with brands looking at working with influencers, or, debating on whether they are going to work with influencers, I think it's being, not being worried to ask for that in return. Like, this day and age, like, I understand that you don't necessarily, they might take that stance and we don't necessarily have to post. And, like, your point is interesting. But if I'm, that in this world and this day and age with influencers and how social media works, like, if you're being sent something, like, if you are uncomfortable with posting a post, like, you shouldn't really be taking the products.
I agree.
That's sort of like a two-way thing. And therefore, then when you start to pay your influencers and stuff, like asking influencers to post a certain amount of times, or putting in that framework,
right?
Brands shouldn't feel uncomfortable about doing that either, because again, that's the world of influencing and marketing. And
of course, and if you're paying them, that's what you're paying them for.
100%.
So you shouldn't be afraid to be like, well, you have to post this many times, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Listen, with any work contract, you have what you need to do and how much you'll be paid to do the work. Yeah. If they've agreed, the only time I think it's okay to not pay is the only scenario, because I actually worked with a brand that was new. Do you remember when Grip and Glow came out? I think actually I might have even sent it to you. She'd only just started. She had no money. Of course, I'm not going to be like, oh, you should really pay every single one of them 50 quid. But we also knew that some of them might not post because they might not like it. And actually, a lot of them did like it. And to this day, lots of people still use it. It's really good. But it's that whole thing of like, and then me and Kiana did like a TV program with them, and it was really cool. And, so she is really, really good. And I think now, obviously, now that she's established, she probably would pay influencers to work with her. But at the time when she first started, it was more of a favour. And in that scenario, that's the only kind of scenario. But when you see these big companies that don't, I'm like, come on, you're making enough.
Yeah, and that's for you to make that decision too. Like, we said before, like, if you're comfortable doing that, like, I've had a pole brand reach out and say, would you do this for me? And they weren't going to pay me, but I work with other brands that do pay me. And it's not, for me in the position that I'm in right now, like, it's not fair for me to work with a brand for free when I charge other brands. So it depends on your situation. Like, if you want to take the free pole stuff and, like, you're not in it for, like, the big long-term goal, then that's cool. Like,
then do it,
Then you take the free stuff because it's good. Like, we all love free shit, right? I still love receiving free stuff. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
But if you are doing this for a living and you want to make something, through social media and you enjoy it, then you shouldn't be also afraid to say, there's payment needed, even if that's £10, you know.
I think a lot of it as well, I think ego plays a big place in this, because I think a lot of brands prey on the fact that they know that, like, you know, if a big brand contacts them and says, oh, like, we'd like to work with you, they're like, oh my God, like, whoever, like X-Pol, or they want to work with me, like, wow, I must be like doing really well. Yeah, of course I'll work with you. And they're like, we don't pay. And they're like, oh, that's fine. And the next thing you know, even if you've only got, you know, 8, 7, 5,000 followers, right, and you're newer to it and you're starting to build your numbers up, that's still 5,000 people that they might not have been able to access before.
100%.
You've got to understand the value. It's different.
And I've had this conversation with from the brand side too. And I've been speaking to brands and saying, like, just because you've got your ambassadors that you've got now, that doesn't mean you necessarily need to carry them forward. You know, you really need to identify what you're getting in return. Like, if you're sending out, you know, however much stuff, and you're not, and like the last time they posted was X amount, or, you know, there's not really much engagement there, or, you know, they're not really actively wearing it or using it, then you need to be selfish from the brand side too, and really work with people that are going to expose your products and show them in the best light. So, you know, it works on both sides. But again, I think it, like you say, I think it's down to your situation. If you're cool with getting free products, then take it all. So yeah, but I do agree. But yeah, I agree. People should.
One thing that you mentioned before we started that actually kind of ties in with this subject. What about influencers that have bought their followers? Like, how funny that there's brands that are going to be contacting these people saying, oh, wow, like, you've got like 200,000 followers, 300,000 followers, whatever. We want to work with you. And then you're like, oh, but they're not pole dancers or whatever. And you didn't realize that actually they bought them. Isn't that weird? Like, I think, you know, again, I've definitely have talked about this on this podcast before, but people buying followers, I just can't. It is funny though. And like I said to you before we started this podcast, there are people that you and me, we know they've bought some, maybe not all, but they've at least bought some. And you can always tell by looking at who their followers are.
Like, I'd love to know how many and how much also, they pay.
Right. I'd love to know how much they've wasted, because what a waste of money, really. Like, if there's one thing that I would not be afraid of admitting as if I had bought them, and I'd tell you my reasons why. And actually, I spoke to Athena about this once before. The only reason we'd like to buy followers is because we'd just be intrigued to know how long they stay for, because I'm intrigued to know what the retention rate of these fake followers are, because I just don't know how that works. But surely they don't stick around, because obviously they must want repeat business, and they must get them to follow and then maybe unfollow months later, and then they end up going back for more.
I don't know, because I have seen like the people that brought them, they don't really drop too significantly. Like, they don't drop too majorly, especially like I know, you know, the couple of people that I do know, like their following hasn't really moved, but you can always tell, like, this is, you know, I think I said to you before, like, I'm always watching the market. I'm always watching what people are doing, like what's going well. You can never predict what's going to go viral. Like, you could do the most shittest video and it will go viral. And you put your heart and soul into something and you watch it and you're like, this is so sick. Like, I think this is going to get loads of hits or whatever. And you put it up and it doesn't do well. So you never know what's going to do well. But you can tell, like, some people have got huge followings, and then you go, but even people that maybe haven't brought their followers, like, so, you know, there's still people with like in excess of 150. And then you look at their reels and how their reels are performing, and their reach is like, I don't know, anywhere between 9 and 12k.
Yeah,
you know, so the engagement is.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it's funny because, and again, I didn't even know about that until you kind of mentioned it to me, and I was like, I look at that every now and then. Now, you know, these people who've got loads and loads of followers, and then you're like, why have they only got 3 comments or 4 comments within the last however many hours? Like, why? And then it just makes you put 2 and 2 together. Yeah, but isn't it like it's sad that, you know, it's kind of gotten to that point that people are doing that, and just of what benefit is there? But like,
well, I think it's like, it's a bit like I don't think it comes to ego too much, but like just having that, you know, we all like it when we get more followers, and when, like, you know, when we have followers, like I've said before, and I'm going to clear this up because I know we spoke about this, but I said before how followers don't mean shit, and I mean it in the term of, like, you can't get caught up with your following. You really, really can't. It can really dishearten you. Like, I'm so grateful for my following, but, you know, I dictate how well I'm doing through my business. Like, how many online clients have I got? That dictates what type of content I'm going to put out. And, you know, like, I'm not really focused on a number you know, because you can't be, because you're just chasing something that's never going to satisfy, really.
Yeah. It was like, I was talking to Annie Norris about this, and, you know, it's like, I'd rather have 10,000 followers who are all engaged with what I do and spending money on what I do and all these sort of things than have 500,000 followers of people who aren't interested in what I do. Do you know what I mean? Like, it makes the numbers look good. I agree. It does make the numbers look good, and it does make people think, oh, wow, they must be really good.
Well, it puts some weight behind you, doesn't it? Like when you're reaching out to brands, or, you know, if you were to speak with a brand or whatever, it gives you some form of like clarity that actually, like, look at what I can bring.
One thing that I will say, though, is that if your video does go viral, it will get you a lot of followers. So when people have a viral video, it is going to get you a lot of followers.
Yeah.
But it doesn't get you hundreds of thousands. You know, it's like, I think Sasha Meow had a video go viral, and I think she went from like 40K to like 70K or something. You know, she did really good. Like, but, you know, she didn't get hundreds of thousands from it, but she had a lot of engagement on that post. And it was just like, oh, okay. I mean, my comment on that video, I made a funny comment on it. I can't remember what I said, but I had like over 600 likes, just my comments. You can imagine how many people actually saw that post.
And engaged with it, yeah.
And so I do agree that you can have a video go viral, and it will help. But not that much. So again, it just makes it look so obvious.
But also, like, what happens after that video goes viral, you know, because after a while you'll sit at that point, and this is when people that aren't really in your niche, or, you know, really aren't actually enjoying your content as much as they thought they would, they start to drop anyway. And also,
well, exactly. Like I said to you, the same has happened to me. Like, one of my videos went viral, got a load of followers from it, and they're dropping back down again. I kind of knew it would, if I'm honest, even if I can keep some of them, that's great. But yeah, I can't make sense of it. You know, you're just a bit like, I don't understand sort of what benefit there would be. Like,
and you just can't focus on it, because, like I say, it just doesn't. When does it stop? So what? Like, you'll be like, oh, I really want to get to 10K. Then you get to 10K, and you're like, oh, what if I get to 15? Or what if I get to 30? Well, you know, like, I never ever thought I'd get to 100 ever. Like, I remember when I was on 15, my friend, one of my good friends, not in the pole industry, personal, was like, oh my God, I can't believe you're on 15. She's like, you know, imagine when you're going to be on 30. And I was like, no, I won't get to 30. You know, and now being at 100, and it's like, so when does it stop? Like then you're at the next.
How many have you got now?
104.
100 on Instagram?
Yeah.
That's amazing. God, yours has gone up really quick too. Oh, maybe I need to check your followers.
No, I'm the same as you. Know, I would admit if I brought my followers, because again, like, my narrative, which I said before with my content and stuff, is really getting online clients and training people to get stronger, and that's what I do. I'm an online coach. So if I brought fake followers who aren't going to invest and buy into me and buy my, or like invest in me as a coach, like, that's such a big waste of money for me. Like, like, I may as well, I'd actually be better off putting money into ads.
Yeah.
And putting together an ad and running it on Instagram, targeted at pollers, versus like actually buying followers, because it would
make more sense. Yeah, I think you'd get more from it. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's really hard, because I understand that you can get a lot of followers from viral videos. So it's sometimes really hard to know whether someone genuinely got them from a viral video or whether they got them because they bought them. But it's just, it's one of those things I don't really have any interest in buying.
No, but
I just wouldn't waste my money. I'm too tight.
No, exactly. And do you know what the biggie thing is? Like, what you see it a lot anywhere, and it's not, this isn't life-changing advice, but you can't compare yourself to others. You really can't. So, like, I see it and I'm like, wow, that person's got X amount. Like, how on earth do they do that? And then, like, but then I'm like, oh, well, who cares? Like, am I doing okay? Yeah, I'm fine.
Of course.
So, you know, like, just focus on you and just,
Oh, hey, so sorry to interrupt your podcast. I just wanted to come on real quick and tell you about one of our sponsors. So today's sponsor is Backbone Polewear. If you don't already know who Backbone Polewear are, they are a brand based in Greece, and they offer a range of pole clothing, offering clothing not only to women but men as well, which is awesome because I don't see that very often. And one thing I love about Backbone is that they're a super inclusive brand. One thing I did notice was when I was looking through their website, they have a plus size pole range, a range that they call the Pole Has No Size range. And I absolutely love this. Do you know what? We don't have enough representation for the plus size community, and I just just love that Backbone are doing this. Thank you so much, Backbone. I know there'll be plenty of plus size pollers out there who will be super, super happy to hear about this. So do go and check out Backbone. They offer all sorts of different things. I'm actually looking on the website now. They've got men's, they've got yoga, they've got tops, they've got swim and beach wear, streetwear, leotards. So if you've never gone and checked out Backbone before, you need to go and do so now. So make sure you go and check out Backbone Polewear.
I'm gonna segue because
Cool.
yeah, it was one of those topics. That subject I've talked about for ages, but yeah, I want to just change it because I noticed you put. Oh, what was the specific post? It was about like you're posting about like food, posting about like
your activity,
calorie burns, all these sorts of things like activity, talking about your daily steps and stuff, and I wanted to talk to you about this because January is that time of year, isn't it, where people are all of a sudden they're on this like, I'm gonna health kick. I want to get fit or lose weight, or I want to get. Oh god, my gym is literally packed at the moment. It's horrible. It is what it is. What is your thoughts around this? Because February to December, the pole industry is very much, we're body positive. We don't promote this, like that. And then January, it's almost like many people forget about that. But what's your views on it? Because obviously you are a coach that does help people that do want to lose weight.
Yeah.
How do you keep the balance between body positivity and, encouraging people to lose weight and stuff? Like, what, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's like, I know what you mean. And I think it comes down to the individual too. In terms of how confident, there's always a deeper reason. There's always a why, and you need to find your why. Saying I want to be toned and I want to lose a bit of weight, a lot of the time, like, that isn't going to carry you through. That isn't going to really be enough. You really need to dig deep and actually find out why you actually want to make a change. Is it that you feel uncomfortable when you see yourself in the mirror? Like when you see yourself in the videos, is that what you feel uncomfortable? And if there is a genuine, like a genuine reason that you're feeling uncomfortable and you want to change, then yes. But like in terms of body positivity, like some people are really comfortable in their own skin and like absolutely love the way they look, which you should always be confident. But like, I think that it's a really fine line, because I think it's down to the individual's mindset, because you can be really comfortable and confident in your own skin, but then if you have goals that you want to achieve, especially in pole, like, things will be easier if you just take care of your body a little bit.
When I did,
I'm really like tiptoe. I'm really like trying to say this.
Honestly,
like,
don't tiptoe. Like, I think it's so different when you're speaking with words, because you're not writing a quick message on Instagram where someone's going to be like, read it the wrong way. You're talking from the heart, and not being funny, but why is it people have anything against people that want to lose weight? That's their choice, their body. If we want to talk about people's bodily choices and looking after themselves, they want to lose weight, they want to lose weight. If they want to gain weight, they can gain weight. Let them do what they want. It's their body.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it is a really tough one, because I do see both sides that, so for example, this year I haven't posted anything about losing weight. But it's something in January that always happens to me, because when I'm doing this challenge that I do every January, 31 Day with Dan challenge, guys, go and check it out online.
Get on it.
I just naturally lose weight because I'm exercising so much. It's not necessarily because I've, stopped my lifestyle or anything like that. Don't I eat a bit better because I want some more energy? It's a byproduct of what I do. It's not my main focus. It's something I like to do, of course. And I have no qualms in saying to you that, when I look in the mirror and I'm overweight, I don't really feel comfortable. I don't like the way it looks on me. That's not to say that I look at someone else who's a bit overweight and I think, I don't like the way that looks. That's their body. I don't give a shit how they look. You know what I mean? Like, how they look is entirely up to them. It's my own personal opinion about how I feel about myself. The same way that I might look at my nose and be like, I don't really like the way my nose looks.
Yeah.
Or, and so people do some work on it, don't they? If they've got a big nose, they might get a nose job. It's the same thing. If they've got a bit of weight, they might want to lose it. Why are we making people feel bad about that?
Yeah, I think again, it's changing the narrative on it. So like, I'm going to do more posts like I did that the other day, because I'm not saying you need to do this. But what I'm saying is this is like, and I'm going to do one about I'm going to use the word diet. It's not diet. That's my point here. Like, it's not a diet. It's a lifestyle shift. And that's where the narrative needs to be changed. Like, I would never be actively promoting on my account, like, you need to lose weight, you need to do this. And I would never dream of saying that to anybody either. Like, when I do consultations, I'm like, tell me where you're at the moment. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to lose a little bit? Do you want to maintain? Do you want to gain? And again, it comes down to that, those individuals. But like, I think it's the way it's pitched, you know, like January, clean eating, diet. And it's like, well, no, like it should be, we should be constantly promoting to be healthier. Like, if you want to get better at pole, like if you really want to get better, like, you're going to have to get stronger. If you really want to get better, you're going to have to eat more and make sure you take care of your nutrition. Like, this is a lifestyle. This isn't like a one-off, like a slam your calories, drop all the weight, you know?
But can we talk about, you know, you were saying about you have to get, you know, if you want to be able to do this, you have to get stronger.
Yeah.
But, you know, as well, that's the whole thing of like, I don't like this narrative that people have put where it's like, you know, you can get a shoulder, you don't have to lose weight to get a shoulder mount. Mm-hmm. Well, no, you could, of course, get a shoulder mount at whatever weight you want to be. Yeah. However, your journey is going to be longer. That's what people don't say. And I think, like, it's unfair to people to not say to them, well, actually, for example, I'm going to use myself as an example so it doesn't offend anyone. Deadlifts. I can't do a deadlift unless I'm under a certain weight. It's impossible. It causes irritation to my shoulder because my body has a limit on how much weight it can lift. It's the equivalent of, you know, someone going to the gym and saying, right, I want to be able to lift 110 kg on a dumbbell. Yeah. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just, you know, start lifting this weight and eventually I'll be able to lift it. No, it's like, you've got to build up slowly. And that's the thing, is like, and usually what you would do is at whatever weight you are, you would start with that weight and then maybe you'd add ankle weights, you know, but if it's a body weight issue, you have to lose the body weight. That's what it is with me. It's the same for competing. I can't compete if I'm over a certain weight because I can't get through a full routine if I'm over a certain weight because my muscles can't lift that weight for that amount of time. It's all about scientific, you know, stuff. I'm not using, I'm not like, oh, I just think. No, it's a fact. Like, my body factually cannot lift that way. You know what I mean? And I just hate that sometimes we have this narrative where people are like, oh, you know, you don't need to be thin to do this or whatever. And it's like, well, no, of course you don't. But, you know, is it an advantage? Of course. So it's no wonder people like to lose weight, you know, because especially when it comes to strength training, doing things like that, it does help. It does for me anyway, you know?
Yeah, and it's looking at the byproduct of that, like, it's changing the narrative of like, I want to slam my weight, or like, you know, to actually I think people need to accept, and it's moving away from the fact that these things take time.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
like,
my God.
And also I just want to say here, like, because I want to be careful how I say this, but like, there's a lot of pole instructors in the industry who teach pole that just know pole, which is amazing. Like, that's fine, you have your qualification. But I think there's a lot of polers that don't understand, like you were saying about your different weight and stuff, but also your body composition. People's body compositions means that they can't do particular moves. And it's being able to, I mean, shoulder mount's not a very good example of that, but there's some stuff like people's bodies don't twist and turn in certain ways, and like, you know, like it's exactly the same sort of thing. It's just treating that.
I just prefer the method of, like, if people say to me like, oh, you know, do I need to like lose weight to do this or whatever, I'm just like, listen, honey, I'm not the person to tell you about that. I've got the work. Like, when people ask me about diet and stuff, people are like, oh, what's your diet? I'm like, sweetie, you don't want to know the answer to that because I'm not the one. Like, the weight I'm at now is the generic sort of weight I always sit around. I've been slimmer and I've been bigger. I've never looked like most of the male pole dancers within our industry because I don't really feel the need to. I feel like I do more than enough at this way. I'm absolutely happy with it. And you know what? I love a good pizza. I love a good burger, and I ain't going to stop eating them just so I can look ripped. Why? I don't give a shit about that. And so long as I'm light enough. Yeah. I like to have a flat tummy. I like it to be flat just because that's the aesthetic on my body that I like, but it's not essential for me. It's definitely not flat at the moment. You know, but I'm sure at some point it will be, and I'm sure at some point it'll be bigger, especially when I go on holiday. Listen, one thing I always say is that I would hate to stop myself from eating certain foods. And then the next day get hit by a bus and wish I'd fucking ate them. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Should I be overeating? Should I be binge eating? Probably not, 'cause it's not good for me. But do I do that sometimes? Yes.
Yeah, I do. But this is where you change the narrative on it. Like, we're not going on a diet. Like, we're making lifestyle changes here. Like,
Yeah,
this is
I definitely
every day.
noticed that's definitely something that I have tried to look at more, because I used to, and people who have seen my journey over the years, there was a period where I lost loads of weight and I almost went a bit too slim, maybe.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was a diet. That wasn't a lifestyle change. That was literally, I wasn't.
You have a coach then too, right?
Yeah. She's amazing, by the way. She
no doubt.
She was doing what I asked her to.
Yeah, of course. But that was I was referring it personally. Like, I remember you being in that point, and I remember you working with, like, I can't remember who, but I remember you working with a coach at that time.
Yeah, I was with Kate. Yeah. And Kate Linsell. She's amazing, and she was really helpful. But for me, that was a diet, and I wasn't looking at it right, because had I looked at it as more of a long-term lifestyle change, it might have been better for me. Whereas at the time, I had a photo shoot, and then once that photo shoot was done, because I was so miserable, because I was going to be so strict, I just let it all drop. I went on my honeymoon. That was like 20 days. And it all went downhill from there. But
and this is the thing, you've got to make small changes. And I think when people say to me, like, do I have to be, like, lose weight, you don't, but you do need to, if you're not going to, like, if you are bigger and that's something that's hindering you, then we at least need to focus on the areas that will need to be strengthened. So for a lot of the time, like, with shoulder mounts, and like inverts and stuff, with people that are a little bit bigger, what they struggle with is getting their hips up. And a lot of that is not only just your hip flexor strength, and your posterior chain. So this is where I try and change the narrative. Narrative's like the key word here today, isn't it? Change the narrative of, let's try and get you stronger. And this is where, like, I then get people cross training, and then losing weight is just a byproduct of that. Like, change the focus that you're cross training to get stronger at what you love doing. So when we go to the gym or when we work out at home, we're not doing it because it's like, oh, fucking hell, I need to do a workout. We're doing it because we're like, I am going to train every area so that I get stronger at the thing I love doing. And you'll start to see those changes. And then the weight is like a byproduct of that, versus being like, must hit a certain point, like it's changing that stance on it. And like you say, really focus on it as being a lifestyle change for you, not just a quick. And I wouldn't work with someone like that. If someone come to me and said, I want to drop X amount in X amount of days, and can you just slam my calories? Like, I'm not the right coach for you to do.
No, I think as well, like, when you said about, like, if someone came to me as a coach and said, oh, do I need to lose weight? Do you need to? No, but it would probably be wrong of us to not explain the benefits of losing weight. Like with my scenario, if I went to a coach and said, oh, I want to be able to do this deadlift, and maybe I was a bit heavier than I am now, and I just wasn't getting it. I said to them, do I need to lose weight? And they just said to me, no. I think morally that's actually wrong, because they know that actually, of course, I'm going to find it easier if I lose weight. So why do people feel afraid to say it? Just say it, but say it in a nice way.
This is it. And the way I would say it personally is, listen, pole is a form of calisthenics. And calisthenics is body weight training. So, everything that you do with the pole, you don't have assistance of getting upside down. Like, there is, unless you're using resistant bands, but you can't use a resistant band in a routine or, something like that. So you are relying on your body weight. So if you are coming in slightly heavier than your frame and your natural body composition, then it is going to be a little bit more challenging to get the body upside down. It just is, like you say, that's just the scientific facts. If you're sat if you're sat a little bit lighter, then everything's going to be easier to get upside down. That's just scientific. So I think it's just explaining that our sport is very dependent on holding the body weight. So you need to hold all of your weight through your arms or through your legs. So if you are a little bit heavier, then that's going to be a little bit more difficult. It just is.
I definitely think, like, because I definitely notice it with me as well. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm watching Love Island at the moment, and things like Love Island, it creates such insecurity, doesn't it? Because you're looking at these people with these amazing bodies, and you're like, oh, like, they've got like no body fat and they all look amazing. I'm like, when is the middle-aged, normal-bodied Love Island going to happen? Because that's what I'm waiting for. Like, do you think TV shows and things like that, like, they have a negative impact?
Well, yeah, that's why they do so well. That's why they feel, that's why they're all young and in their 20s and looking absolutely amazing. I
But
actually
isn't
don't.
that weird? Don't you find that so, like you were saying, yeah, that's why they do well. But isn't that odd that a show that has people in there that makes people feel insecure and horrible about themselves does well? You would
I
think that
know,
actually we should all be like, do you know what? This show actually doesn't make me feel good.
but I think
I'm
it's
not going
because
to
it's
watch it, but we do.
subconsciously. Yeah, well, the thing, like, I actually don't watch a lot of TV at all. I definitely don't watch any reality TV programs. And the only TV I watch is at like maybe 10, half 10 at night, and it'll be like a Family Guy. Something that's really like mind numbing. Me and my husband would just watch it in bed. We watch TV on a Saturday night, but it tends to be like fun comedy, really light-hearted. I never watch any reality programs because, one, it's all set up and fake, and secondly, like, it does make you question everything. You look at it and you're like, oh my god, like, she looks amazing. Like, I don't look like that when I wake up in the morning. My hair's not done like that. Like, I wish I was that beautiful. My body looked that good, when actually it's all set up, and yes, these people do look good. That's not taken away from them. But yeah, that's what it does. It plays with your subconscious mind where you're like, should I be doing that? And like you say, if it does make you feel like that, then turn it off. Fuck that.
Yeah, it's not real life, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. That's it.
Are you watching it? Do you watch it?
Nope. No.
Oh, you should.
I'm
watch
so
it.
sorry. I know when you text me about it, and I was like, "Oh God." Yeah, honestly, when I say I don't watch any reality programs. I honestly, like, I don't have time.
I just, yeah.
I don't honestly.
Do you know what it is?
I actually don't have any time to watch it.
Yeah, you're too busy like making posts for Instagram and stuff. Oh, I'm terrible.
know
This
it.
is why you've got 104 and I've only got 100. But like, yeah, I'm terrible actually. I know I said I was going to get better at doing this shit, but I haven't had time this month. But yeah, it's
Yeah, but you are running your channel. Are you on about social media?
Oh, babe, I'm running my challenge. I've got
This is
workshop
it.
bookings. I'm sorting. I've just
Yeah, but what's
opened
more
up bookings for
important?
Camp Dan. Oh God, it's fucking nuts. My life is nuts. I
Yeah, but
genuinely
like,
actually sometimes don't know how I do it.
but that is like way more important than what your followers are doing. Like, that's where you've
Oh,
got
of
to change
course.
your narrative.
Yeah.
But like, how much money are you making? Like, I'm not asking you to answer that question, but do you know what I mean? Like, how much money?
Millions.
But like,
I wish.
that's what I would dictate too. Like, am I making a good living? Yeah. Like, is that off my followers? I mean, it has a bit to do with it, but it's not going to change. Like, you really, you haven't gained like a substantial amount of followers between the last time I spoke to you and now. You've gained like, a good amount, but you're still booked out for the year. So
Well, it's like the last time I
do you know
spoke to
what
you,
I
I
mean?
think all I've done is I've gained maybe like 200 or something, and that's shit, really. Like, I'm just like
But your
terrible with
business is
social
still
media.
your business is still booming. 31 Days of Dan is
Yeah,
still doing
yeah.
amazing.
It's still
Pole
doing
Destroyers is
great.
amazing. So, like, it's all about, you're smashing it, and just keep focusing on that,
I also bear in mind that I'm very much a niche as well, like male pole dancers. Like, not all women want to follow male pole dancers. That's fine too. It's all good. I totally
Someone
get
asked
it.
me actually, how do you, and I could be wrong in saying this because I feel like it's a little bit easier for guys that are gay than straight, but how do you feel as a guy in a female dominated industry? Like, do you, how do you, is that, how has that been for you? How is that for you? I mean, I could be wrong in saying this, but like,
yeah, I know what you mean. I get asked this actually a lot. It changes all the time for me. I mean, there's been times where I felt so supported, and obviously, like, I have a big community of people that follow me and a big community of people that really love my classes, and they are like my babes. Like, I love them.
Your team.
My team, they really are. Like, and there's hundreds of them, and I love them. And I remember that they're just a small portion of the community. I don't know that it's just because I'm a man. I think it's just because I've been successful, and people sometimes don't like people who have been successful.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get that. You get the odd people who just aren't supportive at all. And when I first came into the industry, they would do anything they could to stop me from being able to do competitions and stuff because they just didn't want me there. There was like competitions that were like, oh, you have to wear shoes. And I'd be like, well, I don't really dance in shoes. They're like, well, sorry, it's the rules. And then I'd be like, okay. So I'd literally wear trainers. And I did a competition with trainers because the rule was you had to wear shoes. Didn't say what type of shoes. So I just wore shoes and I won. And I just thought, I think so much of what I've done has been a bit of a fuck you to some of the earlier days because people just didn't want to accept me. Many people did. I can't say everyone was like that. Many people didn't want to. And it's just one of those things. I just pushed my way through. I carved a path for myself. And It's kind of what you're doing. And this is actually one thing I would say to everybody, like when it comes to this industry, you got to carve your own path. You got to do your own thing, because this is why I'm where I am today, because, I decided just to do my own thing. It's like, I don't do things that everyone wants to do. Like the meme page. When I first ever started the meme page and I started making memes, it used to all be on my page. And everyone's probably just be like, oh, like, why is he only making funny content now? And then I made it, and now I've got a whole income stream just from making memes, which is nuts, really, if you think about it.
It is good though. They are banging.
I've just never followed. I don't enjoy following. I like leading. I prefer it. And it's
you're driven. That's the thing. You're driven. Like, this is why other people's content can inspire you, but don't copy. Like, because it's not going to come off as authentic. Just be authentic. Stay true to you. It's like so when I first started pole, I have poled in socks for years. Like, this isn't a new thing. I've poled in socks for at least, I don't know, maybe 6-7 years. And there was so many people that used to say to me, like, take your socks off. Like, it looks so much better without socks. Like, this doesn't look good. And I was like, no, this is what I want to do. Same with, like, you see, I don't really, with the exception of Enviro, because I do wear their pole stuff. I don't really wear pole brands, especially not stuff like any garter, sexy sort of related pole where you'll never ever catch me in. That's just because that's my style. And it's, there's been times where I'm like, oh, would you reckon maybe I might do a little bit, maybe I would do a bit better if I was in pole clothes and like stay true to my niche, but that's not me. That's not my narrative. That's not what I'm about. So you do have to stay true to yourself and be like, this is what I enjoy. This is what I want to do. So I'm going to keep doing it. And now even when people are like, why don't you pour on socks? I'm like, fuck off.
Yeah, but
it's a style.
Like, but you've created this niche, and like your page is very different to other pole dancers and stuff. And but that's why we've been successful, I think. Whereas it's funny, I feel like I see a lot of pole dancers all doing or trying to do what they feel is cool or what looks cool, or they're all trying to be the next Daria Chi or next Kieran White. It's like, you got to do your own thing, babe. Like, style wise, of course, there's only so many styles you can really look like, but when it comes to actually running your own business and running your own thing, you've got to just go in your own direction and do what you want to do, rather than just copying the people that you think have been successful because of whatever reasons. And go on. Sorry, babe. I was just going to say, and one thing I was going to say with that is that how I was saying to you about, like, I've been speaking about the whole, like, selling my choreos.
Yes,
and, like,
I saw this on your stories.
So many people think I'm crazy. I've had so many messages from people like, why would you want to do that? Like, why do you like? Because because we've had this whole narrative recently of, oh, you shouldn't copy people's choreos. If like there are people, I won't mention names, like, who have deliberately gone onto people's pages and been like, listen, you've taught my choreo, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, and they've kind of told people off for stealing their shit. And I get it. And this is why I never really used to post much choreo, because I've been dancing and making choreos for years, and I never wanted people to steal it. And I'd only post it once I was done with it. So once I was done with it, I was like, well, if someone steals it at this point, go for it. But I just thought, what about if rather than people stealing it, they could actually buy it and then use it and promote it and be like, this is Dan Rosen's choreo, I'm going to be teaching it. I've bought this class off of Dan Rosen, and I'm going to teach you it all on Monday. See you in class. And then maybe you'll make them some money. And people find that a really odd concept. But actually, the place where it's less of an odd concept is Australia, actually. In Australia, it's actually a little bit more known, because I posted about it.
So different though, isn't it? Like the whole pole industry in
Australia
is so different.
Oh my God. They're literally like their own pole industry down there. It's so different. And someone messaged me, was like, yeah, we do that here in Australia. I charge this much. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, because people here just were a bit like, oh, well, I'm intrigued to see how you go.
But again, Dan, right, this goes back to exactly what you were just saying. If it feels right for you and you're happy doing it, who gives a fuck what anyone else thinks? If you're happy to sell it for, I don't know, I'm just going to pick a random figure, so forgive me. But let's say you were like, you know what, well, one-off choreography is 50 quid or 40 quid. It's an hour's worth, and like whatever, however much you charge. I don't know. Who cares? If it makes you some money and people want to buy it, great. If people don't, okay, well, you were doing it anyway and you've got a video of it anyway. If people say you should be doing that, like, what, so going to stop you. And then and then somebody else starts doing it and it becomes really popular.
Oh,
and
no, it's not that they're trying to stop me. I think they just find it a very odd concept. They'll be like, "Oh, why would you do that?" But
no,
it's like with everything. I remember when I first started doing the memes thing, everyone was a bit like, "What the hell is he doing?" And then all of a sudden, lots of people try to do meme pages. It's like, "Oh, here we go." And now loads of people love making funny content, and I share a lot of it. But yeah, it's funny. I just don't want to be a follower. I've always wanted to lead my own ideas and stuff.
I don't know why you don't add it on as a separate or tiered package on the pole destroyers.
The only reason, if I'm really honest with you, the only reason I don't is because I want people to be able to buy it as a one-off. The pole destroyers, I feel like, is great for people who want to be on a subscription, but for things like instructors, they might not. They might want to do it as like, I'll buy it and then I'll teach it to my students as like a one-off workshop over 6 weeks or something, and then they'd be done with it. Yeah. But also, how would you manage it in terms of, let's say, for example, an instructor bought my choreo to teach it, and then they cancelled their subscription. Yeah. What happens about, some of the other choreos that they might have learned, or do you know what I mean? It's that whole thing of like, does that mean that I have to make sure and check that they're not teaching any of my choreos anymore? Like,
you're never going to be able to manage it.
Nah. I just thought I'll do it so that people can buy one off choreo and it's done. That's it. They've bought it. It's over with. So I'm just intrigued actually, because this is the whole discussion that was on my Instagram yesterday was about like how much people should pay. And, God, the variation on prices was crazy. Some were like hundreds. Some were even like, oh, you should charge like $1,000. I was like, babe, like no one's going to pay $1,000 for a choreo. And then some people are like, you should charge €10. I'm like, sweetie, no. I'd rather not sell it to them. I'd rather they struggle to make their own choreo and sell them mine for 10. But what would you think? I'm just intrigued.
I think it would go back to your hourly rate. So how long did it take you to create, put together, edit? And then I would base it on that, because you'll be selling multiple, so you're always going to, and it's a bit like my kettlebell plan. Like my kettlebell plan is fucking cheap for what it is, like, and how much time and effort I put into it, but it's always available to buy and it makes me money every single month. So yes, if I priced it at £50, I probably wouldn't get as many as I would at 25, and it constantly is another revenue stream for me. So, and the money that I have made on that is way and above my way and above, and it's just and it's always there, and it's continuously going to be done. So I think you've got to price it right, and you're only going to know if you.
I tried to base it on. How much is an hour private? So this is like an hour class. How much would an hour private be? To teach that to someone one-to-one, which is about 50 quid. And then how much would you then pay to do just like a class? So I probably would have taken me about an hour to make it. So the choreos, I try to think like if I were to teach these choreos, it'd probably take me about an hour to teach someone and make it with them if I wanted to make someone their own choreo. So about an hour. So I'd say 50 quid for the hour. And then how much do I normally charge someone for a drop-in class to learn said choreo that I've made? £10. So I thought 60 quid, it's a reasonable amount. And then I thought, well, it is a reasonable amount, but, and then someone was like, yeah, but people could be making hundreds off of that. I'm like, but good for them. Good for them.
Like, you can't, but like, okay, somebody could be making hundreds off that, but again, you just have to focus on you. Like, you're going to make hundreds off it. So, like, you know.
But will I? That's the thing. I guess I'm going to be testing it. I'm going to test it maybe for like 6 months to a year and just see how it does. And if people are interested in it, who knows? I might start inviting people to add their own choreos to this platform, and people can buy choreos and stuff that they can then. Do you know what? Like Spin City offer very similar. I think they've got choreos on there, but probably not to the same sort of level that I'm talking, like heel choreos. I'm probably talking like mini choreos. Yeah. So I'm sure I've seen them before, but they've got a platform for teachers where they give them combo ideas and tricks ideas for classes. And I thought, well, really, I'm thinking of something similar, but for contemporary flow, low flows, spinning pole routines, heels, really, mainly heels choreo, because people do struggle with heels choreos. yeah, just thought, how cool could that be? So, well, if you're listening to this and you're an instructor, keep an eye out, guys, because I
think,
definitely will be adding that soon.
Yeah, I think you just got to test the waters, and if it
Yeah.
doesn't do really well, and again, like you've got to be comfortable with what you're selling.
Just watch. I bet you any money. I'll do this, and then all of a sudden the people will be like, "Oh, okay, you can buy my choreos too." I'll be like, "Oh, it's funny now you're offering it."
It's not you though, is it? That's the thing. It's funny actually, really quick on that, because I remember seeing one person in particular really get irate about. So I've seen quite a few people get irate about cross training on Instagram and really voicing their opinion on it and stuff, which is fine. But then going to the gym. Yeah, like like how like kettlebell training or whatever, you go to the gym, that's cross training. That's a form of cross training. So really being like really expressing their opinion on cross training, and that you don't necessarily need to do it, and then seeing people start to do it, and start adding in tips. And I had one person message me saying, "I've got a student that's struggling, with this. What can I help them with?" And it just at one point they were so against it, and now they're so for it. It's going to be exactly the same with this. Like people are so like, oh, I don't know what you think about doing that. You'll do it, and then everyone will do it. So just pioneer, just go and do it.
I think people do it because they find it threatening to their own work. They'll be like, "Oh, I don't want to encourage people to go to the gym because what if they leave me?" Or, "Oh, I don't want to encourage people to go and buy choreos of Dan Rosen because what if they don't come to my choreos anymore?" Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I think that, and I understand that because it is a threatening thing. Before you go, real quick, I want to ask you. We were talking about internet dramas, and I just love talking because whenever we really meet up, we always talk about social media stuff, really, don't we?
Yeah.
And someone has come on to Polos and asked for a post to be deleted. So let's say, for example, right, you did a video with, and I know you've done some videos with people before, and there's been guys on your page. Let's say, for example, someone messaged you and said, that guy did this, or he's a predator, he did blah, blah, blah to me.
I see where you're going with this. Yeah.
What do you do in that scenario? Because it's really difficult, because on one side, I'm like, wow, well, that sucks. I'm really sorry that you've suffered that. On the second side, I'm like, who am I to judge based on something that you have told me?
Yeah.
They've not told me that. I've not read it in the news. I've not got any police reports to say that this thing happened. For all I know, this could be some random person just with a hate campaign against this person. And they might have made it up. How do I know that? I could literally, like, if that was how it worked, if I had someone I hated, I could literally make a fake profile, go on and be like, hi, just so you know, that person did this to me and I'd like you to take it down. Imagine if I did that for every single person. Like, what do you do? Like, how do I deal with that situation?
Well, Polos is a business, and that's what your narrative is the key word. This podcast is,
oh my god,
narrative. By the way,
you've just got an obsession with the word narrative today. Fuck.
I really have recently because I'm really like, it's really hot on my mind at the moment. But Polos is a business. It's fun and there's like loads of fun stuff on there and stuff, but it is a business. And unless that person, like you say, I think you handled it correctly. That was what I would do it same. It's hard because if you had like maybe 10 to 15, 20 people message you saying, this person's done this, like this is really, and it was a really hot topic within the industry, or I don't know, something, there was a big drama around it, then that's different. But like if it's one person messaging you or two people messaging you, you can't, unless it's a really bad situation. Like,
I basically just went back and I was like, really sorry to hear that happened to you. Sorry to hear that. But unfortunately, like if I took posts down based off one, I wrote this actually. I was like, if I took posts down based on every sort of private profile that comes onto my page and tells me that something happened to them, I'd have no posts. I'd have nothing to post. Do you know what I mean? Like, and also I have to say it made me sympathize a little bit, because that's happened to me before, where someone shared my stuff and then they've gone, oh, Dan Rosen did this, blah, blah. I'm like, that happened years ago. I'm such a different person now. And like, I'd like to think that we all grow as people. Like, why are we not giving second chances anymore? Like, when did we stop doing that? Do you know what I mean? Like, let people learn from their mistakes. And actually, one of the comments, because it was like a couple of people that tried to do it, and one of them was like, oh, they made an apology, but there was no accountability or something like this. And I was like, you just told me that they made an apology. Is that not accountability? I don't understand. Like,
yeah, but also like it's what it means to you as well, right? Like that's it's really difficult, but I think you handled it correctly. I think
Yeah, I literally just
It
was
is hard,
like,
though.
you know, it is so hard. I agree. It's really hard sometimes to not get angry because I'm just a bit like, what are you doing? I'm embarrassed for them. I'm a bit like, what are you doing? And also, this person doesn't even fucking follow the page. And I even said in the comment, I was like, you know, you don't even follow this page. So why are you concerned about what is being posted on here? It's beyond me. I just don't get it. Why? But yeah. Oh, God.
I
Anyway.
agree. This has been fun, as always.
This has been fun. I know you need to go because I've gone 5 minutes over your time. So if you're missing your meeting now, I'm really sorry. But yeah, always a pleasure talking to you. I'm excited to come back onto your podcast. Make sure you send me over some dates. I'm excited for it.
Yes, and maybe we need to find something that's not social media because that's all we talk about. We love it.
No, we're just obsessed.
It,
we're just good. This is what we're good at. I think that's kind of like our special. If people were to be like, "Oh, who's good at social media when it comes to pole?" people would probably think of you and me. So I thought, why not talk about it? But yeah, love speaking to you. Thank you for going a little bit over time, and I'll speak to you soon.
It's all right. Speak to you soon.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Really hope you enjoyed it. And remember, you can request guests just by sending me a DM on Instagram and let me know who do you want to see on the podcast. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
That was all the tea that you can get this week. Join